Hi, I'm Lisa Leiter. In Chicago Business Today, the downtown office market. It's a good news, bad news scenario for the downtown office market. We're seeing the biggest leases in years, but there's a problem. Many of those in the works will involve companies moving into smaller spaces. The result? A local vacancy rate that could end up climbing instead of falling as the market recovers. Eddie Babe wrote the story in this week's print edition of Crain's. So Eddie, what's going on here? Wells Fargo signing a lease for close to 300,000 feet. This is exactly the kind of news that the market's been waiting for, but nobody's exactly popping champagne. What's going on?
Yeah, I think it's more good news than bad news for the downtown office market, but the big caveat is Wells is a little bit of an exception. They're taking a little bit more space. I mean, they're moving out of 5 different buildings to go to 10 and 30 South Wacker. But the majority then of deals that come after, and some that are very close to being signed now, that are almost as big as the Wells Fargo deal, most of those are contractions and people getting smaller in their office spaces. And it's not anymore the situation like it was a year, 2 years ago, where people are downsizing their offices and cutting people. But the fact remains that they did previously cut their spaces, and also you have space that they've been in for a lot of years, and it's perhaps not as efficient, and it's just not laid out the same as office spaces are today. So what you're seeing is, this sort of trend to less square footage per person. So I think that's playing a factor as well.
So what are companies looking for? I mean, is this really just a factor of jobs lost that are never coming back, or are they looking for something different?
I think it is certainly a jobs loss a factor when you look at how much the employment has fallen downtown from the recession. It's fallen more than the occupancy has right now. So they had excess space, and I think this is them shedding it. One thing it sort of suggests is that while companies are sort of gearing up and planning to grow again, I think they're still being conservative in the amount of office space they take and not looking to lock up tons of future expansion space or figuring that they're going to need a lot more space go forward. The companies are still very, very cautious.
So you say the vacancy rate is probably going to rise over the next year. What are your sources telling you about the longer term outlook? I mean, when are we going to start seeing that vacancy rate drop?
Well, MB Real Estate, which we quote in the story, their forecast is for the rate to go another point over the next 2 years, basically. But there are some that say they're less concerned. They think actually we've hit, maybe it will start coming down or at least be level. And then I think longer term, a knock on the Chicago office market is it's fairly easy to build new towers. And in this case, somewhat because of the cost, somewhat because of the demand side, you're just probably not going to see that happen. So if you don't have any more supply come in and the demand is flat to maybe slightly picking up, I think most people are pretty bullish that in a couple years it really should start turning landlords' way.
All right, Eddie, great story. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And that's this edition of Chicago Business Today. You can read Eddie's story in this week's print edition of Crain's and on chicagobusiness.com. Don't forget to download our mobile app at chicagobusiness.com/mobile app so you can watch us anytime, anywhere. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.